We're talking about the elusive Sigma male, a rare breed that dances to the beat of their own drum, often misunderstood, and yet, they possess a magnetic allure that is hard to ignore. Sigmas are the lone wolves of the social hierarchy, often seen as outsiders, but don't be fooled, their solitude is a choice, not a product of rejection. They are self-reliant, independent, and yes, they can be dangerous. Dangerous, not in the way you might think, but in their ability to disrupt the status quo, to challenge the norms, and confound those who underestimate them. This video is an odyssey into the world of Sigma males, a journey to understand their unique qualities, and a quest to unravel their mysterious nature. So, buckle up. Join us as we delve deeper into the enigmatic world of Sigma males and reveal the 7 ways they show that they're dangerous. The first way Sigma males show their dangerous side is through their solitude. Now, this solitude is not an outcome of shyness or social ineptitude. Instead, it is a deliberate choice made by Sigma males to distance themselves from the usual social chatters and superficial interactions. They find solace in their own company, preferring the quiet introspection of a solitary evening to the boisterous cacophony of a crowded room. This preference for solitude makes Sigma males rather unpredictable and difficult to read. They're like those mysterious characters in a novel who prefer to stay in the shadows, observing and understanding, rather than being in the spotlight. Their solitude gives them a unique perspective on life, allowing them to see things from angles that others may miss. Let's take an example here. Imagine a social gathering. While most people would be engrossed in conversations, a Sigma male would be quietly observing, taking in the environment, the people, their behaviors, their words. This allows them to pick up on subtle cues and details that others may overlook. But here's where the danger lies. This solitude, coupled with their sharp observational skills, makes them formidable strategists. They can predict outcomes, see patterns, and make connections that others simply can't. Their solitude is their fortress, their sanctuary. It's their space to think, to strategize, to plan. It's where they recharge, refuel, and rearm. A Sigma male's solitude is not a sign of weakness, but strength. It's not a reflection of his inability to socialize, but his choice to prioritize his own mental space. It's not a sign of his disinterest in others, but a reflection of his interest in understanding the world from his unique vantage point. To the untrained eye, a Sigma male's solitude may seem harmless. But in reality, it's a weapon they wield with mastery. It's their shield and their sword, their sanctuary and their strategy room. It's their way of navigating through the world, of understanding it, of mastering it. So the next time you come across a Sigma male, remember his solitude is not just a preference, it's his power. The second way Sigma males show they're dangerous is their self-sufficiency. A Sigma male's independence is both his armor and his sword. This characteristic makes them unpredictable and hard to manipulate. This isn't just about being able to cook their own meals or handle a flat tire, though they can certainly do those things. It's about a mindset, a philosophy of life that prizes self-reliance above all else. Take a look at the corporate world, for example. While many are climbing the corporate ladder, the Sigma male is building his own ladder, brick by brick. He's the entrepreneur working on a game-changing startup, the freelancer juggling multiple projects, or the digital nomad working from a beach in Bali. He doesn't rely on a boss for a paycheck or a corporation for his identity. He's his own man in every sense of the word. In social settings too, the Sigma male's independence is on full display. He doesn't need the validation of a crowd or the approval of peers. He's comfortable in his own skin, happy with his own company. This can make him a bit of a wild card, as he's not driven by the same motivations that drive others. He doesn't seek popularity or acclaim, he seeks only his own contentment and fulfillment. But this self-sufficiency can also be a threat. Because the Sigma male doesn't rely on others, he's not easily controlled or influenced. He's not swayed by peer pressure or societal expectations. He walks his own path, makes his own rules. This can be unsettling for some, especially those who prefer the predictability of traditional roles and hierarchies. It's important to remember, though, that this self-sufficiency is not a sign of arrogance or aloofness. It's a survival strategy. It's the Sigma male's way of navigating a world that often values conformity over individuality, popularity over authenticity. It's his shield against the pressures and expectations of society, his tool for carving out his own place in the world. The Sigma male's self-sufficiency is not just a lifestyle choice, it's a survival strategy. Thirdly, Sigma males are dangerous because they are strategic thinkers. Now, when I say dangerous, I don't necessarily mean they pose a physical threat. No, the danger lies in their uncanny ability to strategize, to plot and plan, to analyze a situation and find the most effective course of action. Picture this. Sigma males are like the grandmasters of the chessboard that is life. They don't rush into situations blindly. Instead, they take a step back, assess the field, and carefully consider their next move. They are the ones who don't just play the game, they play the game with an end game in mind. These men are analytical, they dissect problems and situations with the precision of a scalpel. They cut through the surface and delve deeper, peeling back layer after layer until they reach the core. This analytical nature allows them to see patterns, to predict outcomes, to anticipate moves before they're made. It's like they have a sixth sense, but really, it's just their strategic mind at work. Let's consider an example. Say a Sigma male is in a competitive environment, perhaps at work or in a social setting, where others might see a challenge as an obstacle. The Sigma male sees it as an opportunity. He doesn't just aim to overcome the challenge, he strategizes on how to use it to his advantage. He looks at the bigger picture, identifying potential pitfalls and opportunities, and then he plans his moves accordingly. He is not just reactive, but proactive. And this is what makes them formidable opponents. They're not just thinking about the here and now, but the future as well. They're not just reacting to what's happening in front of them, but anticipating what's coming next. So don't underestimate a Sigma male. They may be silent, they may keep to themselves, but within that quiet exterior lies a strategic mind, always calculating, always planning. In the chess game of life, the Sigma male is always several moves ahead. The fourth way Sigma males are dangerous is their discrete dominance. Now you might be scratching your head wondering, discrete dominance, how does that work? Well, let me unpack this for you. Sigma males, unlike their alpha counterparts, do not assert their dominance through loud gestures, aggressive posturing, or overt displays of power. Instead, they subtly influence those around them, guiding situations and people towards their desired outcomes with a quiet strength that often goes unnoticed. Imagine a river. On the surface it may seem calm and serene, but underneath there's a powerful current driving everything forward. That's the Sigma male. They don't need the limelight or the adulation of the crowd. They quietly go about their business, making impactful decisions, often from the shadows. Their influence is like a whisper that echoes in the subconscious of those around them. Consider a workplace scenario. There's a team project and everyone's throwing out ideas, trying to outdo each other. In the midst of this chaos, the Sigma male listens, observes, and then, in a calm, collected voice, offers an insightful solution. He doesn't demand attention or forcefully push his idea, but his well-thought-out proposal, presented with quiet confidence, resonates with the team. His idea is adopted not because he dominated the conversation, but because he dominated the thought process. Another example can be seen in social settings. Sigma males often hang back, watching and learning. They might not be the life of the party, but they understand people, their motivations, their fears, and their desires. They use this knowledge to subtly steer conversations and influence decisions. They are the unseen puppeteers, masterfully pulling at the strings without being noticed. So yes, the Sigma male is indeed a discreet dominator. They may not be the loudest in the room or the most visible, but their influence is undeniable. And that's what makes them dangerous. They can change the course of events, influence decisions, and impact lives without anyone even realizing what's happening. The Sigma male doesn't need to roar to prove he's the king of the jungle. Scene script. Fifthly, Sigma males are dangerous due to their unpredictability. In the world of psychology, Sigma males often stand out for their unconventional approach to life. They defy norms and expectations, marching to the beat of their own drum, which makes their actions unpredictable and, in turn, quite intimidating. Let's delve into the realm of unpredictability, the domain of the Sigma male. Conformity, they scoff at the notion. Societal norms, they prefer to create their own. This is not to say that they are reckless or irresponsible. Rather, they are independent thinkers who value their freedom to choose and act according to their beliefs and instincts. Think of a chess player who, instead of following the usual strategies, makes unexpected moves that keep their opponent guessing. That's a Sigma male in action. They're the wild card, the joker in the pack, the enigma that can't be deciphered using conventional methods. They're the wild card, the joker in the pack, the enigma that can't be deciphered using conventional methods. They're the wild card, the joker in the pack, the enigma that can't be deciphered using conventional methods. This unpredictability can be both intriguing and intimidating. It's intriguing because it's a challenge to understand them, to figure out what they'll do next. It's like trying to solve a puzzle with pieces that don't seem to fit anywhere, yet somehow they do. This mystery draws people in, piques their curiosity, and keeps them on their toes. This ability to keep others guessing, to keep them off balance, can be an effective strategy in different situations, be it in a negotiation, a competition, or a confrontation. The Sigma male holds the reins of unpredictability and thus wields a distinct form of power. So when you're dealing with a Sigma male, remember this: they are not bound by what's conventional or expected. They are free spirits who chart their own course, who dance to their own rhythm. They may not follow the rules of the game, but they sure know how to play it. With a Sigma male, the only thing you can expect is the unexpected. The sixth way Sigma males are dangerous is their nonchalant negotiation skills. Now let's unpack this. Sigma males are masters of negotiation, yet they do so in a way that seems almost casual, almost indifferent. This nonchalance isn't a lack of interest or preparation. On the contrary, it's a calculated strategy that gives them an edge in deals and discussions. Picture this: you're in a negotiation with a Sigma male. He's leaning back in his chair, arms folded, a half smile playing on his lips. He listens more than he talks, yet when he does speak, his words are sharp and precise, cutting straight to the heart of the matter. There's no desperation in his voice, no eagerness in his eyes. He's like a chess player, coolly and calmly making his moves, unfazed by the ticking clock or the rising stakes. This can be unnerving, even intimidating. You're left wondering, does he need this deal? Is he even interested? This is where the danger lies. In the face of a Sigma male's nonchalance, the other party might feel compelled to offer more, to try harder, to give in. The balance of power subtly shifts, and before you know it, the Sigma male has the upper hand. Consider a scenario in which a Sigma male is negotiating a job offer. He's not overly enthusiastic about the salary, nor is he visibly upset about the workload. He's just there. He questions the terms, suggests changes, yet all in a detached, nonchalant manner. The hiring manager, eager for his expertise, may find themselves sweetening the deal, upping the salary, adding perks, all in a bid to get him on board. This nonchalant negotiation style is a potent weapon in a Sigma male's arsenal. It's a testament to their confidence, their self-sufficiency, their strategic thinking, and it's one of the ways they quietly, unassumingly, secure their victories. When a Sigma male negotiates, he does so with the cool detachment of a seasoned poker player. This is the power of the nonchalant negotiator, the Sigma male's dangerous sixth way. Finally, the seventh way Sigma males show they're dangerous is their intuitive intellect. This is an aspect of their personality that is often overlooked but is crucial to their ability to navigate the world in their unique way. This intuitive intellect is not just about having a high IQ or being book smart. It's about understanding the subtleties of human nature and using that understanding to their advantage. Sigma males frequently have a deep-seated understanding of human nature. This comprehension is often instinctual, something they've honed over time through observation and experience rather than formal education. It's as if they have an internal compass that points them to the truths that others often miss. This knowledge of human nature and the motivations that drive people makes them highly intuitive. Let's consider a scenario to illustrate this point. Imagine a room full of people, each one wearing a mask of social niceties and political correctness. Amidst the chatter and laughter, the Sigma male sits quietly, his eyes scanning the room. He's not just seeing people, he's reading them, their body language, their tone of voice, the words they choose, and even the things they don't say. Everything becomes a clue to understanding their true intentions and feelings. This intuition enables Sigma males to read people and situations effectively. They can anticipate actions, reactions, and even potential threats before they become apparent to others. They can see the chessboard of life several moves ahead, and they plan accordingly. It's as if they're playing a game of poker, always knowing when to hold their cards close and when to call someone's bluff. This ability to intuitively understand and predict human behavior can be disconcerting to some. It makes Sigma males unpredictable, hard to control, and therefore dangerous to those who seek to manipulate or take advantage of them. They're always one step ahead, always prepared, always aware. The Sigma male's intellect is his sword and shield, always ready to cut through deception and defend against manipulation. This intuitive intellect, combined with their other traits, makes them a force to be reckoned with in a world that often under their true potential. So, these are the 7 ways Sigma males show they're dangerous. We began with the solitary Sigma, a lone wolf who thrives in solitude, and moved on to the self-sufficient Sigma, a man who relies on no one but himself. We then delved into the silent strategist, a master of stealth and strategy, and the discreet dominator, a subtle yet powerful force. The unconventional unpredictability of the Sigma male was our next point. followed by the nonchalant negotiator, a man who can sway opinions without raising his voice. Lastly, we discussed the intuitive intellect, a Sigma male who uses his sharp mind to navigate life's challenges. Each of these traits contributes to the enigmatic and somewhat dangerous allure of the Sigma male. Remember, understanding the Sigma male is not about fearing them, but about appreciating the complexity and depth of their character. Until next time, keep exploring the fascinating world of human psychology.
There comes a time in a man's journey when silence speaks louder than words, and his presence carries more weight than his explanations. For the Sigma male, this stage arrives when he has stripped away everything unnecessary, every doubt, every distraction, and every fear of being misunderstood. It is a moment not marked by noise but by stillness, not by a display of power, but by the quiet recognition that nothing external can move him. Think about this carefully. An untouchable man is not someone who fights with everyone, nor is he someone who forces others to notice him. Instead, he becomes untouchable when he no longer depends on their validation, their approval, or even their understanding. His life is guided by principles, not popularity. His steps are directed by clarity, not chaos. This doesn't happen overnight. It is the result of years of trial and error, of setbacks that taught him patience, and of loneliness that shaped his resilience. The Sigma does not seek the spotlight, yet when he reaches this stage, the world cannot help but notice his calm indifference. People may gossip, criticize, or even try to provoke him, but none of it sticks. He has built himself into something unshakable. And here's the truth. When a Sigma becomes completely untouchable, it changes not only how others see him, but also how he sees himself. Suddenly he realizes that he doesn't need to chase, he doesn't need to prove, he doesn't even need to explain. His life begins to flow with a natural authority that no title, no amount of wealth, and no external label could ever give. So today, let us walk through what truly happens when a Sigma male reaches this rare stage of being untouchable. But before we begin, if you find value in this kind of reflection, consider subscribing for more calm insights into the Sigma path and the life of high-value men. Now let's explore the 7 things that happen when a Sigma becomes untouchable. In number 1, his detachment becomes his strength. He no longer reacts impulsively to opinions, rejections, or even praise. Instead, he has learned the art of detachment. Has fascinated philosophers, psychologists, and spiritual teachers for centuries. Detachment is not about indifference or coldness, it is about control. It is the ability to observe life without being tossed around by every passing judgment or fleeting emotion. In psychology, this closely resembles the concept of emotional regulation, where one learns to pause, reflect, and respond thoughtfully rather than react instinctively. Studies in neuroscience show that people who practice mindfulness and self-control activate the prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for decision-making, rather than the amygdala, which drives impulsive reactions. This neurological shift explains why calm, detached individuals are often seen as composed and unpredictable. Their choices aren't dictated by external pressures, but by internal clarity. Throughout history, such composure has been linked with wisdom. Stoic philosophers like Marcus Aurelius emphasized that true power lies in mastering one's mind, not in controlling others. Similarly, Eastern traditions such as Buddhism teach that detachment protects inner peace by loosening the grip of ego, desire, and fear. When a man embodies this principle, he becomes difficult to manipulate because he does not rise or fall on the basis of flattery, criticism, or rejection. Modern society waves of social validation makes this detachment rare, and that rarity is what makes it so powerful. An individual who remains calm when others expect anger, silent when others expect defense, or composed when others expect desperation becomes unpredictable. That unpredictability unsettles people who thrive on controlling or provoking reactions. This kind of presence is not built overnight. It emerges from years of trial, error, and conscious self-mastery. Each rejection teaches him resilience, each failure teaches him patience, and each success teaches him humility. Slowly he reaches a point where external noise cannot shake his inner foundation. By detaching, he protects his peace, and in doing so, he gains an aura of mystery that others cannot decode. He is no longer moved by the world, yet the world cannot help but be moved by him. Number 2, respect replaces attention. When a man reaches the stage where people stop viewing him as someone trying to fit in, something remarkable happens. He becomes someone others naturally respect. This shift is subtle but powerful. It doesn't come from forcing authority, demanding recognition, or chasing validation. Instead, it stems from authenticity, quiet confidence, and consistency in how he lives his life. Respect, in its truest form, cannot be begged for. It must be earned through action, character, and presence. When others sense that he is no longer competing for their approval, they begin to see him as independent, grounded, and secure within himself. That alone commands admiration. Psychologists often note that respect is deeply tied to what they call status signals. Not material possessions or loud displays of power, but traits like emotional control, reliability, and decisiveness. People are drawn to those who exude inner stability because in a world filled with uncertainty, such qualities act like an anchor. History also reflects this truth. Stoic philosophers like Marcus Aurelius emphasized that a person's strength lies not in forcing others to follow, but in mastering one's own emotions and actions. The same principle applies today. The more a man governs himself, the less others can dismiss him, and the more they instinctively value his presence. Think about everyday life. A man who constantly tries to prove himself at work or in social circles often ends up overlooked or even disrespected. But the one who stays calm, delivers results without boasting, and doesn't chase attention, he stands out. People begin to trust his word, respect his boundaries, and even seek his advice. This happens because respect is not about being the loudest in the room, but about being the one who doesn't need the room to define him. Ultimately, when respect flows naturally, it transforms relationships. He no longer has to fight for a seat at the table because people invite him to it. Not out of pity or politeness, but out of genuine recognition of his worth. That is the quiet power of becoming someone who doesn't need to fit in because he already belongs to himself. And number 3, his energy cannot be drained. Drama, conflict, and manipulation lose their power the moment a man refuses to feed them with his emotions. This is one of the quiet strengths of the Sigma male. He does not win by shouting louder, nor by proving himself in endless battles of ego. Instead, his strength comes from restraint. By choosing not to react impulsively, he denies manipulators the energy they crave. Psychologists describe this as emotional regulation, the ability to manage one's emotional responses instead of being ruled by them. Studies have shown that people with strong emotional regulation are less likely to be manipulated in social and professional settings because manipulators thrive on predictability and reactivity. When those elements are absent, the trap loses its effectiveness. To understand this better, think about how drama operates. It is a cycle that feeds on attention. Someone provokes, another reacts, and the cycle intensifies. But when a person no longer reacts, when they meet provocation with calm indifference, the entire structure collapses. This is why some of the most powerful figures in history, from Stoic philosophers like Marcus Aurelius to leaders like Nelson Mandela, practiced detachment. They knew that true power lies not in controlling others, but in controlling oneself. For the Sigma male, this mastery of detachment is not born overnight. It is the result of experience, failed relationships, betrayals, and countless lessons learned in silence. He has faced manipulation before, but instead of breaking, he studied it. He came to realize that conflict only continues when he gives it space in his mind. By withdrawing that energy, he does not just walk away from drama, he becomes immune to it. This is what makes him unexploitable. People may try to guilt him, shame him, or pull him into games of control, but he no longer takes the bait. This is not coldness, it is clarity. Emotional intelligence experts often emphasize the value of detached involvement, being present and aware without being entangled. It is a skill many strive for, but few achieve. The Sigma embodies it almost effortlessly. He can listen without absorbing, observe without judging, and walk away without resentment. This rare balance grants him freedom. While others remain trapped in webs of manipulation, the Sigma quietly builds his life on his own terms. In the end, his power lies not in confrontation, but in absence, the absence of emotional fuel that drama needs to survive. Without it, conflict burns itself out, and what remains is peace, clarity, and the kind of strength that cannot be touched. Number 4, women approach him differently. For women, his indifference becomes magnetic because it speaks a language deeper than charm or surface-level attraction. In psychology, this is often linked to the concept of emotional self-regulation, the ability to stay calm, composed, and unaffected by external noise. Studies in behavioral science suggest that people, especially women in social dynamics, are drawn to individuals who display consistency under pressure. It signals strength, stability, and leadership, qualities that historically and biologically have been associated with security and survival. This is not about arrogance or playing games. It is about a man's refusal to let his sense of worth depend on anyone else's approval. Women often find this indifference intriguing because it defies the usual patterns of interaction. Many men chase, flatter, or seek validation, but the Sigma male does not. His silence is not coldness, it is control. This makes him stand out because he seems to be living from a center of purpose rather than a hunger for attention. Sociologists note that humans are wired to value what seems scarce, and indifference in a world saturated with noise and overexposure feels like scarcity itself. In relationships, women sometimes interpret this self-control as mystery, and mystery has always been alluring. There's also a biological angle. Research in evolutionary psychology suggests that confidence without neediness is a trait linked to dominance and competence. When a man demonstrates that he is unaffected by drama, he communicates unconsciously that he can handle life's challenges without crumbling. For women, this can stir both curiosity and respect because it points to a deeper foundation of stability. In everyday life, this might look like a man who doesn't rush to prove himself, doesn't argue endlessly, and doesn't rise to every provocation. Instead, he observes, thinks, and acts with precision. That quiet discipline is more compelling than any exaggerated display of power, yet his indifference is not about ignoring others. It is about valuing peace over chaos, clarity over confusion, and principles over popularity. This detachment allows him to move with freedom while others remain bound by the need to be liked. For women, that level of self-possession is both challenging and fascinating. It invites them to wonder what lies beneath, to lean in closer, and to try to uncover what cannot be easily seen. In the end, his indifference is not a wall that pushes people away, but a force that pulls them in because it reflects mastery over himself, and that, more than anything, is irresistible. Number 5, authority without words. In groups, the Sigma male's silence is not emptiness, it is authority. He doesn't raise his voice, nor does he compete for dominance, yet people instinctively defer to his presence. This phenomenon is more than just personality. It's rooted in psychology and history. Studies in social dynamics show that human beings are highly sensitive to non-verbal cues. A calm, composed individual who listens more than he speaks often commands greater respect than someone who constantly asserts themselves. This is because silence creates space. Space for others to project meaning, to wonder, and to sense depth. Throughout history, leaders known for their restraint have carried this same aura. Take George Washington, for instance, who was famously soft-spoken, yet his mere presence commanded the attention of soldiers and politicians alike. In many cultures, wisdom has been linked not to the loudest voice in the room, but to the one who speaks the least. Proverbs 17:28 even notes, "Even fools are thought wise if they keep silent, and discerning if they hold their tongues." The Sigma embodies this principle effortlessly. He doesn't seek validation, so his words, when spoken, carry gravity. Educational psychology also sheds light on why people defer to silent figures. Research into leadership perception shows that those who remain composed under pressure are rated as more competent and trustworthy. Silence, in this sense, is not passive. It's active self-control. It signals to others, "I am not shaken, I am not in need of proving myself." That subtle confidence often outweighs aggressive dominance. In fact, modern workplace studies reveal that meetings often shift when a quiet figure finally speaks. The silence before makes the words after more impactful. Entertainment-wise, you can think of this in the way films portray mysterious heroes, characters like Clint Eastwood's Man with No Name. He speaks little, but when he does, everyone listens. The drama doesn't come from shouting, it comes from the power of restraint. This mirrors real life. People are drawn to mystery, and silence creates that aura of intrigue. So, when the Sigma male sits in a group, he doesn't have to prove his worth. His silence is not weakness, but discipline. He's not competing for attention, yet ironically, attention is drawn to him. His presence communicates that he is self-sufficient, unaffected by the noise around him, and firmly rooted in his own sense of identity. That is why others defer, not to his words, but to the quiet strength he embodies. Number 6, freedom from social games. He is free from peer pressure, fake friendships, and social hierarchies. He chooses authenticity over popularity. This freedom is not accidental. It is the result of a conscious decision to live life on his own terms rather than bending to the invisible chains society often places on people. Peer pressure has long been studied in psychology as one of the strongest influences on human behavior. In adolescence, for example, research shows that peer influence can override even parental guidance, shaping decisions on everything from clothing choices to risk-taking behavior. Yet the man who resists this force is one who understands that popularity is fleeting, while integrity is permanent. When someone breaks free from fake friendships, they also escape the trap of conditional acceptance. Many relationships are built on convenience, shared status, or mutual benefit rather than true care. Sociologists call these instrumental ties, where people maintain connections for personal gain. The man who chooses authenticity understands that such ties collapse when circumstances change. Instead, he invests in bonds that are rooted in honesty, loyalty, and shared values, even if that means standing alone for long seasons of life. Social hierarchies present another form of invisible control. From the workplace to social circles, hierarchies dictate who is seen as important and who is overlooked. Yet history is filled with examples of individuals who refuse to play by these rules. Think of philosophers like Diogenes, who rejected societal expectations, or leaders like Nelson Mandela, who resisted unjust systems despite immense pressure. Their strength came not from climbing the ladder, but from stepping away from it altogether. Choosing authenticity over popularity means valuing truth over applause. It is a rejection of conformity in favor of individuality. Studies on authenticity in psychology confirm that people who live authentically, acting in alignment with their core values, report higher levels of life satisfaction, lower stress, and greater resilience. The reason is simple. When you no longer perform for approval, you are no longer drained by the fear of rejection. This way of living is not easy, but it is liberating. It requires courage to stand apart, to walk away from crowds, and to remain grounded in one's convictions, even when misunderstood. But in doing so, a man gains something far more valuable than fleeting popularity. He gains peace, freedom, and an unshakable sense of self. Number 7, his focus creates unstoppable progress. With his mind free of noise, his energy turns towards growth, mastery, and purpose. His life becomes a living example of quiet power. This transformation is not merely poetic, it is supported by both psychology and history. Modern neuroscience shows that when the brain is not consumed by stress or constant external validation, it can enter a state known as flow. In flow, a person experiences heightened focus, improved memory retention, and greater problem-solving ability. Athletes, musicians, and entrepreneurs often describe this state as the moment when time seems to disappear and their performance feels effortless. For the Sigma male, whose strength lies in independence, silence, and detachment, become the soil where his deepest abilities take root. History also gives us countless examples of men who tapped into this principle. Think of Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic emperor who ruled Rome not with loud boasts, but with quiet discipline and reflection. Or consider Nikola Tesla, who often worked in solitude, turning his focused energy into inventions that shaped the modern world. These figures demonstrate that the absence of noise is not emptiness, it is potential waiting to be shaped into mastery. From a psychological perspective, studies in minimalism and mindfulness show that removing distractions increases well-being and productivity. When external approval no longer dictates his actions, the Sigma male redirects his energy inward, seeking mastery of his craft, clarity of thought, and strength of character. Instead of scattering his energy in all directions, he channels it toward growth. His relationships deepen not because he seeks them desperately, but because his presence radiates stability. His work becomes meaningful not because of recognition, but because it reflects his purpose. This shift is entertaining to observe because it flips social expectations on their head. In a world that equates volume with influence, the Sigma demonstrates that silence can be more powerful than noise. He becomes the man who walks into a room without demanding attention, yet all eyes turn toward him. His calmness unsettles those addicted to chaos, and his mastery inspires those who quietly seek greatness themselves. This is the paradox of quiet power. It needs no announcement, yet it leaves an unforgettable mark. When a Sigma male becomes untouchable, it is not about walls or arrogance. It is about clarity. It is about arriving at a place in life where distractions no longer hold power and where outside noise no longer disturbs inner peace. This is not a battle he wins over others. It is a quiet victory within himself. The untouchable Sigma is not feared because he dominates, nor admired because he performs. He is steady because he has chosen to live by principles rather than appearances. He has mastered the art of walking away, the discipline of silence, and the strength of focusing only on what truly matters. For those who cross his path, this energy is undeniable. They may not understand him, but they feel the difference. Some may envy it, others may respect it, and a few may even seek to learn from it. But regardless of how the world reacts, he remains unchanged, because his strength no longer depends on their reactions at all, and that is the essence of becoming untouchable. Not invincible, not perfect, but free. Free to live on your own terms, free to grow without permission, and free to stand firm even when the ground beneath others is shaking. So if you are walking this path, remember, the goal is not to impress the world, but to master yourself. When you do, you too will discover what it means to live untouchable. There is something quietly mysterious about men who walk alone. Not because they are lonely, but because solitude has become their natural state. These men are not outcasts, nor are they desperately searching for attention. Instead, they live by a different rhythm, independent, deliberate, and free from the noise that most people chase. In psychology, this tendency is often linked to introversion and autonomy, traits that allow a person to recharge alone rather than through constant social interaction. For Sigma males, this solitude is not avoidance. It is a conscious choice that aligns with their sense of purpose and individuality. Society often wonders why such men who seem grounded and self-assured rarely have girlfriends. At first glance, it doesn't make sense. Confidence, independence, and purpose are widely regarded as attractive qualities. Research in social psychology even shows that these traits are often predictors of higher desirability in relationships. Yet with Sigma males, attraction alone is not enough to create a bond. Their standards are higher, not in terms of superficial demands, but in their need for depth, authenticity, and alignment with their personal values. Because of this, many casual relationships that others might accept simply do not appeal to them. When you slow down and observe carefully, you begin to see why. It is not that they can't be with someone, it is that they choose differently. They are selective in ways most cannot understand, and their silence often speaks louder than any declaration of intent. Studies in human behavior highlight that individuals who prioritize self-reliance and long-term goals tend to avoid shallow connections, preferring fewer but more meaningful bonds. For Sigma males, this means they may wait longer before committing to someone, or even walk away from opportunities if the connection feels misaligned. In today's video, we'll explore 7 brutal reasons Sigma males rarely have girlfriends. These reasons are not about arrogance or dislike for women. Instead, they reveal the unique mindset of men who live outside traditional social structures. Some of these truths may feel familiar, others may surprise you. But all of them paint a picture of why a Sigma's path to companionship looks different. Quieter, harder, yet in many ways more intentional. So let's take a deeper look. Number 1, they value solitude more than company. For most people, being alone can feel like a heavy silence, something awkward or even unsettling. Human beings are social creatures by design, and psychologists often emphasize that companionship is tied to emotional health. Yet for Sigma males, solitude is not a void, but a sanctuary. It is not about escaping people. It is about returning to themselves. Unlike the extrovert who gains energy from crowds, or the traditional introvert who might retreat out of shyness, Sigma males consciously choose solitude because it provides them with clarity and focus. It is here, in the absence of noise, that their thoughts sharpen and their creativity flourishes. In fact, studies on creativity and problem-solving often show that solitude enhances deep work. Author Cal Newport, in his research on focus, highlights how uninterrupted alone time is essential for producing high-quality thought. This aligns naturally with the Sigma mindset. They guard their personal space, not out of arrogance, but because they understand the cost of constant distraction. Modern neuroscience also supports this. The brain's default mode network, the system activated during quiet reflection, is crucial for self-awareness and insight. Solitude, then, becomes a form of mental training for Sigma males, a way to fine-tune their decision-making and emotional balance. Relationships, of course, are not irrelevant to Sigmas. They value love and connection, but they also recognize that relationships, especially ones filled with drama or unnecessary expectations, can disrupt their inner equilibrium. To a Sigma male, a relationship that constantly invades their sanctuary of stillness feels like noise drowning out a carefully tuned melody. This doesn't mean they avoid intimacy. It simply means they approach it with intention. They would rather walk alone than dilute their energy in shallow connections. Interestingly, history and literature reflect similar patterns. Think of figures like Nikola Tesla, who famously embraced solitude, or Henry David Thoreau, who retreated to Walden Pond to rediscover life's essentials. Both exemplify the Sigma trait of choosing solitude as a path to clarity and independence. While society often interprets being alone as loneliness, Sigmas redefine it as empowerment. For them, solitude is not the absence of love, it is the presence of clarity. It is a conscious choice to protect their energy, recharge their spirit, and maintain balance in a world that never stops demanding attention. In the end, their solitude is not a rejection of others, but an affirmation of self. Where most people see isolation, Sigma males see freedom, and in that freedom, they find the strength to walk their own path, quietly, deliberately, and unshaken by the noise of the crowd. Number 2, they are highly selective. Sigma males rarely pursue relationships just to avoid loneliness or meet social expectations. Instead, they approach relationships with a mindset that values depth over convenience, connection over appearance, and authenticity over performance. This outlook dramatically narrows their options, but it also ensures that the bonds they form carry far greater meaning. In a society where dating is often driven by swipes, likes, and fleeting chemistry, Sigma males stand out as men who demand more from both themselves and others. They are not impressed by superficial attraction alone. They look for intellectual stimulation, emotional maturity, and shared values that go beyond the surface. Psychologists often note that people who place high importance on authenticity and compatibility are less likely to settle quickly in relationships. Studies in relationship science show that individuals who pursue intrinsic goals, such as emotional closeness and personal growth, report greater satisfaction than those who focus on external goals like social approval or status. Sigma males fit squarely into this first category. They aren't interested in relationships as a performance to be displayed, but rather as a private alliance that strengthens both individuals. This naturally eliminates many potential partners who might be more focused on appearances or shallow compatibility. Entertainment culture tends to romanticize the chase, the drama, and the spectacle of dating, but Sigma males quietly resist that current. Their independence allows them to live fully without needing validation from constant companionship. This doesn't mean they reject love or intimacy. It simply means they will wait until they find a partner who aligns with their principles and can meet them on equal ground. Their standards are not meant to exclude for the sake of pride. They are built from self-respect and a refusal to compromise their values for short-term gratification. For this reason, Sigma males are often misunderstood. Outsiders may assume they are detached, disinterested, or even incapable of commitment, when in fact the opposite is true. When they do choose to commit, it is deliberate, enduring, and deeply meaningful. Unlike relationships that burn out quickly due to mismatched expectations, a Sigma male's partnership often carries resilience because it is founded on clarity and genuine compatibility from the start. In the end, Sigma males may have fewer relationships, but those they do form often become some of the most fulfilling and lasting. Their approach is a reminder that quality in human connection matters far more than quantity, and that sometimes standing apart from the crowd leads to finding what is truly worth keeping. Number 3, they resist conformity. Society has long established invisible timelines for men, when they should start dating, when they should marry, and when they should settle into the traditional roles of husband and father. These expectations are deeply ingrained, reinforced through family traditions, media portrayals, and even workplace culture. From a young age, many boys are told that a successful life follows a predictable sequence: education, career, marriage, and children. But Sigma males tend to step outside of this mold. They rarely bend to these societal pressures, and their refusal to follow the script often places them on the fringes of conventional dating culture. The Sigma male archetype thrives on independence and self-definition. Unlike the alpha, who finds validation in leading groups, or the beta, who may seek security through conformity, the Sigma is more interested in walking his own path. Research in psychology suggests that men who score high in traits like introversion, autonomy, and nonconformity are less likely to marry early or follow traditional relationship norms. Instead, they prioritize personal growth, solitude, and selective social connections. This often leads them to delay or bypass conventional timelines altogether. Logical perspectives. The median age for a man's first marriage has risen from 23 in 1960 to around 30 today. In Japan, where societal shifts have created new attitudes toward independence, a growing number of men and women are choosing to remain single well into their 30s or beyond. Sigma males reflect this broader global trend, but with an added layer of intent. They don't just end up single longer. They consciously resist being rushed by social expectation. This choice comes with both benefits and challenges. On one hand, Sigma males enjoy freedom from pressure and the space to explore passions, careers, or spiritual growth without compromise. They embody the idea that fulfillment doesn't always come through romantic partnership, a notion supported by modern studies showing that single men often report higher levels of autonomy and self-determination. On the other hand, their detachment from traditional dating culture can make them seem aloof or disinterested, which may create distance between them and potential partners who expect more conventional patterns of commitment. Ultimately, the Sigma male's resistance to timelines highlights an important lesson. Life is not a race, and personal fulfillment doesn't have to follow society's calendar. By stepping away from prescribed expectations, they challenge the notion that happiness is bound to marriage or dating milestones. Instead, they remind us that real fulfillment comes from alignment with one's own values and inner rhythm, not the deadlines imposed by others. Number 4, emotional independence. A Sigma male does not rely on a partner to feel complete, and this quality sets him apart from most men. At its core, this emotional self-sufficiency reflects a healthy state of being. Psychologists often describe it as secure independence, the ability to find fulfillment within oneself, rather than depending on another for validation or happiness. Research in social psychology highlights that people with higher emotional autonomy tend to handle stress better, make clearer decisions, and experience fewer codependent behaviors in relationships. In other words, this trait is a strength. But as with many strengths, it carries its own paradox. For potential partners, especially those who equate closeness with being constantly needed, this independence can feel unsettling. Relationships often thrive on the exchange of support and reassurance. When a Sigma male seems perfectly fine without it, a partner may question their role. They might think, if he doesn't need me, where do I fit in? This doesn't mean the Sigma male is incapable of love or commitment. It simply means his foundation isn't built on dependency. His fulfillment comes from his sense of purpose, his passions, and his ability to stand alone. Historically, this mirrors the archetype of the lone wolf, a creature respected for its resilience but often misunderstood as detached or unapproachable. The irony is that such self-reliance can make Sigma males even more attractive. Studies show that independence is a desirable quality, signaling confidence and stability. However, attraction does not always translate into lasting partnerships. While some admire the Sigma's autonomy, others may eventually interpret it as emotional distance. Modern relationship science points out that humans are wired for connection, and when one partner seems less emotionally reliant, it can create a perceived imbalance. Yet this is not a flaw but a filter. For the Sigma male, emotional self-sufficiency naturally narrows the field, leaving only those partners who value independence and can stand strong in their own identity. Rather than creating shallow or needy connections, the Sigma waits for a bond rooted in mutual respect and shared growth. His fewer relationships are not signs of failure, but indicators of a higher threshold, quality over quantity. In the end, the Sigma male does not seek completion through another person because he is already whole. What he seeks, if anything, is someone equally whole to walk beside him, not to fill a void. Number 5, high standards of authenticity. Sigma males are often described as men who live outside the usual social hierarchy. They do not seek validation through popularity, nor do they bend to the pressures of group norms. Because of this, they develop an unusual sensitivity toward authenticity. While many people can be fooled by appearances or charm, Sigma males are quick to see beneath the surface. They notice the subtle shifts in tone, the hesitation in body language, or the small inconsistencies between words and actions. This ability to see through masks is not some mystical gift. It's a product of their independence. Since they do not rely on others for approval, they can observe without bias, almost like an outsider looking in. Modern psychology gives some weight to this idea. Studies in social perception show that people who spend more time in solitude often become better at picking up micro-expressions and small cues that reveal someone's true state of mind. Because Sigma males are accustomed to being alone, they sharpen this inner radar over time. Where others might ignore a red flag in the hope of keeping a relationship, Sigma males trust their instincts. If they sense insincerity, they quietly detach rather than waste energy trying to fix something false. This is one reason they often walk away from relationships that others might tolerate. For them, it is not about being harsh or cold. It is about protecting their peace. They value honesty and depth so much that anything shallow feels draining. Think of it this way. A person who thrives on superficial connections might accept half-truths and play along. But for a Sigma, every moment invested in such a bond feels like a betrayal of their own standards. Research in relationship psychology shows that authenticity is one of the strongest predictors of long-term satisfaction. Without it, trust erodes quickly. Sigma males seem to grasp this intuitively. What makes this fascinating is how quietly they enforce these standards. They don't argue or expose someone's deception in dramatic fashion. Instead, they slip away, leaving behind only silence. In a world where many people cling to appearances, the Sigma male's refusal to wear or tolerate masks makes him both mysterious and rare. To be intimidating, to others it is refreshing, but for the Sigma it is simply the only way to live, with honesty, depth, and an unshakable commitment to the real. Number 6, focus on purpose over romance. For many men who walk the Sigma path, their primary devotion is not centered on romance or companionship, but on their goals, passions, and mission in life. This doesn't mean they lack the ability to care for others or that they are cold at heart. It simply reflects a different prioritization. Research in psychology suggests that people who pursue what psychologists call goals aligned with their true values and passions, report higher levels of fulfillment, resilience, and well-being. Sigma males often embody this principle, channeling their energy into pursuits that give them a sense of meaning and independence. When you look closely at history, you find countless examples of individuals who lived with this kind of focus. Think of Nikola Tesla, who was famously dedicated to his inventions, often neglecting traditional relationships in favor of his work. Or Henry David Thoreau, who withdrew to Walden Pond, not because he despised others, but because solitude and personal mission gave him clarity. These lives highlight a deeper truth. Some people are simply wired to prioritize vision over companionship. Sigma males carry a modern version of this archetype, choosing solitude not as an escape, but as a strategy for growth. From a social perspective, this creates an unusual dynamic. While most cultures place relationships and family at the center of life, the Sigma male's refusal to sacrifice his mission for fleeting affection can seem puzzling to others. Yet, this choice is not rooted in arrogance. It comes from the understanding that building something lasting, a business, a craft, a philosophy, often requires sacrifice. Studies in time management show that highly driven individuals are about where their attention goes. Since distraction dilutes it. For the Sigma in relationship, this doesn't mean relationships are impossible for such men. Instead, it means their connections must align with their path. A partner who understands and respects their mission can walk beside them. A partner who demands that they abandon it will likely be left behind. In this way, Sigma males redefine intimacy, not as dependency, but as companionship, rooted in freedom and respect. To them, love is not the center of life, but it can be a beautiful extension of a life already filled with purpose. Number 7, they understand the cost of commitment. Here is the most shocking truth. Sigma males are fully aware that a relationship requires sacrifice, time, energy, and emotional investment. Unlike many who drift into romance out of impulse or societal pressure, the Sigma male approaches it with deliberate caution. They know that choosing a partner is not a casual step, but a profound decision that can alter the course of their lives. This awareness alone makes them hesitate more than most men. Where others may rush, Sigmas pause, calculating the long-term cost of what may seem, at first, like a short-term gain. Psychologists have long observed that healthy relationships demand at least 3 essential resources: consistent time, emotional regulation, and shared responsibility. Studies in relationship science even show that partners who fail to balance these elements often experience dissatisfaction and higher rates of conflict. Sigma males, with their introspective and analytical nature, grasp this instinctively. They recognize that giving someone access to their inner world means opening the gates to their solitude, the very sanctuary where they thrive. To them, this is not a matter of convenience, but of deep significance. What makes this even more striking is that Sigma males are not against love. They are in fact capable of intense loyalty and devotion once they commit. But they reject the notion of shallow or transactional relationships. They cannot sustain an attachment built merely on attraction or external validation. For them, a girlfriend is not just a companion, but a partner in vision, growth, and purpose. This mindset makes their relationships rarer, but when they do happen, often stronger and more enduring. In a world that often glorifies quantity over quality, the Sigma male's selective approach stands out. It may look like hesitance, even avoidance, but it is, in truth, wisdom, an unwillingness to gamble with the most finite resources they possess: their time, their energy, and their heart. This is why their choices in love, though infrequent, carry lasting impact. Sigma males are not loveless men. They are careful men. Their solitude is not emptiness, it is strength. Their lack of a girlfriend is rarely due to rejection, it is due to intention. In a world that celebrates constant validation, they remind us that sometimes the highest value lies not in who stands beside you, but in how firmly you can stand alone. There is something quietly magnetic about certain men. They don't raise their voices to be heard, they don't perform for attention, and they never beg for validation. Yet somehow the world seems to notice them anyway. These are the men often described as Sigmas, lone wolves who walk their own path, indifferent to the crowds, yet deeply aware of themselves. If you've ever been around a Sigma male, you'll know what I mean. There's a stillness about him, a presence that doesn't need to compete. It unsettles the noise of modern life. In a society where many men chase approval and bend themselves into shapes to be liked, the Sigma male does something radical. He simply remains himself. And women notice, not because he's trying, but because he isn't. His calm detachment, his quiet focus, and his refusal to play games all stand out in a world where so many chase and so few build. Psychologists sometimes call this non-reactivity. It's the art of not being pulled into the urgency of others' emotions. Instead of reacting, the Sigma pauses. Instead of chasing, he waits. And that restraint paradoxically makes him all the more attractive. But there's more to it than just calmness. Sigma males embody habits, choices, and ways of living that make them quietly irresistible. Things that many men overlook, yet things women can't help but notice. In this video, we'll explore 6 of these traits. We'll move slowly, unpacking each one with care, so you can see not just what a Sigma does, but why it has such an effect. These are not flashy tricks or shallow tactics. They are deeper patterns of masculine self-possession, the kind that can't be faked, and the kind that drives women crazy in ways they often don't even understand themselves. Let's begin. Number 1, they don't chase validation. Sigma males don't chase validation, and that in itself is what makes them stand out. In a culture where so much of self-worth is tied to social approval, likes, followers, and external praise, the Sigma's refusal to play that game creates a powerful contrast. They carry themselves with quiet assurance, not because they think they are above others, but because they understand that worth is something intrinsic. This mindset aligns with what psychologists call self-determination theory, which emphasizes autonomy, competence, and internal motivation over external rewards. Instead of living for applause, Sigma males live by their own code, which naturally sparks curiosity in those around them, especially women. Independence, after all, is rare, and what is rare is often magnetic. Interestingly, studies in social psychology suggest that people who appear less dependent on external approval are often perceived as more attractive. This ties into the principle of scarcity. When something isn't easily obtained, it is seen as more valuable. Women may not consciously articulate it, but when they encounter a man who isn't bending over backwards for attention, their curiosity heightens. It's a refreshing deviation from the norm. Instead of wondering, how can I win his approval, the question shifts to, what makes him so self-assured? That shift in dynamic is powerful, creating intrigue without a single word spoken. From an evolutionary perspective, this independence also signals strength. In ancient tribal societies, leaders or lone hunters who thrived without constant group validation demonstrated resilience and competence. That same energy translates into modern times. A Sigma male doesn't need the crowd to validate his identity. His quiet strength speaks louder than social approval ever could. Women instinctively pick up on this energy because it conveys confidence without arrogance and assurance without neediness. It is not about being emotionally unavailable, but about not being emotionally dependent. On a deeper level, Sigma males remind us of the value of solitude in personal growth. Famous thinkers like Nietzsche, Emerson, and Thoreau often spoke about the strength that comes from walking one's path apart from the crowd. This doesn't mean isolation for its own sake, but rather cultivating a sense of self so strong that it cannot be shaken by opinions. In today's hyper-connected world, that quality feels almost revolutionary. So, when a Sigma male enters a room, he doesn't need to announce himself, boast, or seek acknowledgement. His very presence tells a story that his value was never borrowed from others but built within. And that, more than any charm or rehearsed line, is what draws people in. Number 2, they listen more than they speak. In a society overwhelmed by endless chatter, constant notifications, and the pressure to always have something to say, silence has become a rare and almost intimidating thing. Yet this is where the Sigma male stands apart. Unlike most who rush to fill every pause with words, the Sigma embraces stillness. He listens, not half-heartedly while waiting for his turn to speak, but fully, attentively, and without distraction. This act of intentional listening is more powerful than it seems. In fact, psychologists note that genuine listening releases oxytocin, the bonding hormone, which fosters trust and emotional intimacy. For many women, this kind of presence feels more grounding and meaningful than 100 empty compliments. When someone listens deeply, they signal that your thoughts are valuable, your words are worth space, and your presence deserves attention. That's why women often describe it as more intimate than flattery. Compliments can be rehearsed and superficial. Listening requires effort and sincerity. In a study by Harvard researchers, it was found that being listened to lights up the same reward centers in the brain as food and money. This shows that human beings are neurologically wired to crave attention of this kind. It validates our existence in a profound way. The Sigma doesn't offer this presence because he's trying to impress anyone. It comes naturally from his disposition. He is comfortable in silence, at ease with his own company, and unafraid of pauses that make others nervous. This self-possession gives him the patience to listen instead of filling every gap with words. Women sense this difference immediately. In a world where many men talk over them, dismiss their emotions, or turn conversations into competitions, the Sigma's listening feels refreshing, almost revolutionary. But beyond attraction, there's something educational here for anyone, Sigma or not. Developing the skill of listening is a discipline that can transform relationships, friendships, and even professional settings. Studies in organizational psychology show that leaders who practice active listening, responding thoughtfully, maintaining eye contact, and not interrupting, are rated as more competent, trustworthy, and charismatic. This isn't about charisma in the flashy sense, but in the deeper sense of being someone people want to follow or confide in. In the end, listening is a superpower hidden in plain sight. The Sigma's ability to pause, absorb, and make another person feel heard is not just a quirk of personality, it's a demonstration of strength. In a world obsessed with being noticed, he chooses instead to notice others, and that more than anything else is what makes his silence so unforgettable. Number 3, they move with purpose. Every action feels deliberate. A Sigma doesn't waste energy. His movements, whether in conversation, work, or daily life, carry intention. That subtle focus communicates quiet strength, and it is one of the most distinctive qualities that separates him from others. When you observe a Sigma male, you'll notice that nothing about him feels random or careless. He is often compared to a strategist who measures his steps carefully, conserving energy for what truly matters instead of scattering it across meaningless pursuits. This way of living mirrors the principles of efficiency found in nature itself. Think of a predator that stalks quietly, waiting for the precise moment to strike rather than chasing every shadow. In psychology, this kind of intentional behavior is linked to higher levels of self-regulation and discipline. Studies in behavioral science show that people who act with deliberate focus often achieve more because they avoid what's known as decision fatigue, the exhaustion that comes from constantly making unnecessary choices. A Sigma male, by narrowing his focus, minimizes wasted thought and action, which leaves him with more mental clarity and energy. This is why his presence can feel calm yet commanding. He isn't rushing, but he is never aimless. In social situations, this purposeful nature becomes especially noticeable. While others might try to impress with loud gestures, over-explanations, or unnecessary chatter, the Sigma speaks and acts with precision. A pause before he answers isn't hesitation, it's calculation. Women in particular tend to notice this because it sets him apart from the crowd. In a world where so many people compete for attention, the man who doesn't waste energy becomes magnetic by contrast. His silence, his measured movements, and even his stillness all signal a kind of mastery that doesn't need validation. This deliberate way of moving through life also extends to personal growth and work. A Sigma male tends to cut out distractions, creating a lifestyle that feels minimal but highly effective. Research into productivity backs this up. Focusing on fewer tasks with greater intensity yields better results than attempting to multitask endlessly. It is no coincidence that many highly successful individuals, from Stoic philosophers like Marcus Aurelius to modern entrepreneurs, advocate for simplicity, clarity, and intentional living. In essence, the Sigma male embodies a principle that resonates across history, science, and philosophy. True strength is quiet, controlled, and intentional. His deliberate actions remind us that the most powerful movements are often the ones that appear effortless, yet carry the weight of deep thought and purpose. Number 4, they value their time. Sigma males treat time with a reverence that sets them apart. To them, time is not just a resource, it is sacred. They understand that once a moment passes, it can never be retrieved, and this awareness shapes the way they live. Unlike many who overcommit in order to please others or avoid confrontation, a Sigma male carefully chooses where and with whom he spends his hours. He doesn't chase busyness for the sake of appearing important, and he certainly doesn't linger in spaces that drain him emotionally, mentally, or spiritually. This restraint is more than personal preference, it is discipline, a principle deeply rooted in psychology and even echoed in historical philosophy. The Stoics, for example, often reminded themselves of the brevity of life. Seneca, in his essay on the shortness of life, wrote that it is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it. Sigma males seem to embody this wisdom in their daily choices, living as though each decision is a deliberate investment rather than a casual expense. Women notice this quality quickly, and it intrigues them. In a culture where many men try to prove their worth by overextending themselves or constantly being available, the Sigma's discipline in guarding his time stands out. It signals clarity of mind, a man who knows what he values and isn't afraid to walk away from anything that doesn't align with it. Psychologists would describe this as high self-determination, an ability to direct one's life based on internal principles rather than external pressures. Studies on attraction also confirm that people are drawn to those who demonstrate independence and strong boundaries, because it conveys stability and confidence. A Sigma male, therefore, doesn't need to announce his worth. His disciplined approach to time speaks louder than words. This way of living doesn't just impact relationships, it transforms the Sigma's own life. By refusing to waste time in draining spaces, he preserves his energy for what truly matters, whether that's meaningful work, personal growth, or moments of solitude that sharpen his perspective. In a fast-paced society that rewards constant engagement, the Sigma male's restraint can feel almost rebellious. Yet it is this rebellion that allows him to remain focused, unshaken and free. To those observing him, especially women who value discipline and clarity, this becomes not just admirable but magnetic. Time is sacred to everyone, but few live as though it truly is. The Sigma male does, and that is part of what makes him unforgettable. Number 5. They carry mystery without trying. The Sigma male's tendency to remain quiet and avoid oversharing isn't a tactic. It's a natural way of being. His silence is not the heavy, awkward kind, but rather a grounded calm that draws people in. In a world where constant noise, rapid posting, and endless self-disclosure have become the norm, this quiet restraint feels different. It carries weight. Words from him arrive with intention, not as filler, and that very scarcity makes them more valuable. Women, in particular, sense this difference. They often describe it as an aura of mystery, but at its core, it's simply a man who has learned that not everything needs to be said. Psychologists note that people who are comfortable with silence often project confidence and self-control. In communication studies, this is called high-value silence. Moments when someone chooses not to speak, creating anticipation and deeper attention. Research shows that humans naturally become more curious about what is withheld than what is freely offered. That curiosity is exactly why women often feel compelled to lean in, to try and uncover what lies behind the Sigma's quiet exterior. His silence becomes a canvas for their imagination. Rather than chasing attention, he allows intrigue to form on its own. But there's another layer to this. Silence in many cultures has long been associated with wisdom. Ancient Stoics like Marcus Aurelius taught that restraint in speech reveals mastery over the self. Even in Eastern traditions, silence has been considered a form of discipline and strength, symbolizing clarity of mind and emotional control. When a Sigma male embodies this naturally, it resonates with something universal. People sense depth where noise is absent. Women, especially in environments where shallow conversations dominate, find this rare. His quiet doesn't repel, it compels. Interestingly, modern neuroscience supports this as well. Studies show that when people spend time in silence, the brain undergoes processes similar to meditation, reducing stress and improving emotional balance. A Sigma, by not feeling the need to constantly fill the air with chatter, unconsciously signals that he is not controlled by anxiety or the need for approval. This calm presence translates into magnetic energy. He isn't trying to be mysterious. It's simply the byproduct of living in tune with himself. What women pick up on is not just the mystery of silence, but the confidence behind it. They notice how he doesn't rush to prove himself, doesn't brag, and doesn't seek validation through stories or excessive detail. His words, when finally spoken, feel measured, meaningful, and often unexpected. This unpredictability heightens attraction because it contrasts sharply with the predictability of oversharing. Where others exhaust themselves to be understood, the Sigma thrives in being only partially revealed. In essence, the Sigma male's silence is not a mask, but a mirror. It reflects strength, depth, and restraint in a world that constantly rewards noise. His natural refusal to overshare doesn't just set him apart, it makes him unforgettable. Number 6, they walk away easily. Perhaps most striking of all, Sigma males know when to leave. This trait is more than just walking away. It is the embodiment of strength through detachment. Unlike many who cling to relationships, jobs, or social circles out of fear of loss, rejection, or the unknown, Sigma males have cultivated the rare ability to step away when respect is no longer present. They understand that dignity outweighs attachment, and that leaving a situation that undermines their worth is not weakness, but wisdom. Psychologists often call this secure detachment, a mindset where one does not define their identity by others' validation. Instead of seeking external approval, they trust their own judgment, and that trust allows them to exit situations that no longer align with their values. This ability is both educational and inspiring when we examine it through human behavior. Studies in social psychology reveal that many people stay in toxic environments due to the sunk cost fallacy, the belief that because they've invested time, energy, or emotions, they must continue even if the situation is harmful. Sigma males defy this trap. Their refusal to beg for acceptance or cling to fading respect is rooted in rational thinking, not impulsive pride. In this sense, their approach reflects Stoic philosophy. The Stoics, such as Marcus Aurelius and Epictetus, taught that true freedom comes from detaching from what we cannot control and refusing to be enslaved by unhealthy attachments. This mirrors the Sigma mindset. Leaving is not about abandonment, but about self-preservation and clarity. What makes this quality entertaining to reflect upon is how rare it is in our culture. In movies, novels, and even everyday gossip, the drama often centers around people who stayed too long, whether in love, friendship, or ambition. Yet the Sigma male cuts a different figure, resembling the lone wolf archetype who drifts silently out of spaces where respect fades. This action confuses people because we live in a world where most expect a fight, a chase, or an explanation. The Sigma provides none. He simply leaves, and in doing so leaves behind a mystery that speaks louder than words. Women in particular often find this magnetic because it breaks the pattern of neediness that dominates much of modern social interaction. A man who can leave without bitterness, without begging, is a man who demonstrates control over his emotions, a trait both rare and powerful. Educationally, there is something here for anyone to learn, whether Sigma or not. Knowing when to walk away protects mental health, preserves dignity, and opens the door to better opportunities. History is filled with examples of great figures who embraced this principle. Think of Albert Einstein, leaving the rigid academic structures of Germany to pursue his theories more freely, or Steve Jobs walking away from Apple before eventually reshaping it into the giant it is today. Both demonstrated that detachment is not giving up, it is choosing alignment over entrapment. In this sense, the Sigma male's quiet power to leave becomes not only a masculine trait, but also a universal lesson in self-respect and the art of knowing one's worth. It reminds us that true strength is not in how tightly we can hold on, but in how gracefully we can let go. In the end, what makes Sigma males so magnetic is not performance, but presence. They do not strive to be noticed, and yet they are. They do not bend themselves to fit into others' expectations, and yet they attract respect. These 6 traits, self-assurance, deep listening, purposeful action, valuing time, natural mystery, and the ability to walk away, are not tricks or strategies. They are simply the habits of men who have chosen to live with clarity, and that clarity is rare. It is rare to find a man who is content without the approval of others, who knows the worth of silence, who acts with purpose rather than impulse, and who understands that walking away is not loss, but strength. If you take anything from this, let it be this: you do not need to chase to be valued, you do not need to perform to be respected, and you do not need to hold on to be loved. Simply by living with intention, by valuing yourself, and by standing firm in your own path, you create a presence that speaks louder than words ever could, and that presence, in its quietness, is what truly drives women crazy.